offensive to some audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Radio from the heart of America now.
And now, the Commander-in-Chief is back. Freedom Friday with Carl Gallups, the Oval Office of Gulf Coast Talk Radio.
All right, and we are officially live on this Friday afternoon, the ADX Communication Broadcast Group Studios, Pensacola, Florida, on the Gulf Coast, the Oval Office of Gulf Coast Talk Radio. Well, for those of you that listen on Sunday nights right here on the Gulf Coast on 1620 AM and 92.3 FM blowtorch stations, they are also a part of the ADX Communication Broadcast Group, and we welcome you on a Sunday evening. But right now, it's live, Friday afternoon. And folks, hold your breath. We have an infectious disease epidemic in the United States. It has the potential to be horrific, and it is called the flu. You thought I was going to say coronavirus, didn't you? That's because that's what the news wants you to think. Now, we're going to put a balance to this, and I'm going to tell you some things that probably the bulk of our audience doesn't know, which is why you listen to Freedom Friday. But I will back it all up with referenced resources. Some of you will know because you've been on the internet and you've been hearing it, maybe, online, reading some things online. But the mainstream media is not reporting what I'm getting ready to tell you. But let me just back up and make sense of all of this. So I started the program with this shock report, an infectious disease that's ripping across the United States. Epidemic proportions. Has the potential of being devastatingly epidemic. And you were all thinking, oh, yes, I know. He's talking about the coronavirus. Here's how many people have died of coronavirus in the United States thus far. 0. Thus far, as of this live broadcast. As of this live broadcast, when flu season started in October, and now, as of this live broadcast, we're in the last part of February, 29,000 people have died in the United States alone of influenza. Now hear me. I know some of you are screaming at the radio, yes, but coronavirus, it has the potential to be a pandemic. I know. And every virus does. Do you know that the flu virus does? Do you know that before we developed vaccines, etc., there were global flu pandemics? And hundreds of thousands of people died around the globe. Did you know that? We jumped on top of it. We got it under fair control. Did you know that in 2017 in the United States of America, 61,000 people died from influenza? It's already been 29,000, as I just said, this year, just a few months. And the flu season's not over yet. In fact, they're saying this could be one of the worst we've had in decades. If that's true, I guess the number will go over 61,000. Why don't we hear this in the news? Why aren't the leftists absolutely out of their minds crazy about this horrific death rate of the flu in the United States? 0 have died from coronavirus so far. By the way, the symptoms are just about the same, but now the virus is different. It's a little different strain of a respiratory, acute respiratory virus and systemic disease situation or viral situation. I'll get my words straight here in a moment. Listen, I'm not trying to play doctor. I did sleep in a Holiday Inn last night, though, so I'm qualified to speak of these things. Plus, I know how to read and research and study, so that probably helps a lot. But anyway, so now hang in here because I'm going to bring a bunch of pieces together to this, all right? I'm just building a foundation. You know, you listen to me long enough to know that I like to trick you every now and then, set you up, just like I did with the opening. We have an infectious disease that's ripping across our nation, killing tens of thousands of people. And that's true. And it's not the coronavirus. Coronavirus has killed 0. And, by the way, if you look at the nations that are affected, China is the number 1. Okay? And when I give you the statistics on that, you're going to say, well, golly, it's really not the big deal the media is making it, even in China. You're right. Hang on. See, I know some of you are cursing me right now, but it's because you've been brainwashed. Even medical professionals are now saying there's so much false information out there coming. It's political information. It's coming out of mainstream fake news. Here we go again. Aimed at weaponizing the coronavirus against Trump. Yes, against Trump. I promise you. And the 2020 election. I promise you. We'll see all of this in a moment. Now, does the coronavirus have potential to be a global epidemic? Yes, and so does the flu. And so do all of these different strains of viruses. Some of these strains we've known about for decades, but some of them we've known about for, 100-something years, like influenza, several hundred years. But I'm just trying to put this in perspective. Now, what you need to know that you might not know, if you have a Lysol can in your home or somewhere, this is not a shameless advertisement for Lysol, but many people use that product. If you have a Lysol can, look on the back of it where it talks about all of the viruses that it kills. Many of you are familiar with the fact that at the back of a Lysol can will say kills 8%, 9%, 5%, something. This 99% of all viruses or viruses, and then it lists them, and it says influenza virus, and then it lists these different viruses. And you know what's in that list that's been on the back of a Lysol can for, at least a decade, maybe more than that, maybe several decades. Do you know what's in that list? Go get your you're going to pass out when you read this. Go get your Lysol can. Look on the back of it. Kills 99% of bacteria and viruses associated with influenza, coronavirus, and then it lists some other viruses and bacteria. Yes, coronavirus is on the back of your Lysol can. But now, wait a minute. I know what you're thinking. You say, well, how can that be on the back of a Lysol can if this is some kind of new pandemic disease? Well, it's not new, but it's like the flu. There are different strains of influenza. That's why every year when you go get your vaccine, they're testing all year long to see what the predominant strain is, or if there's any new strains or strains that have really gained a foothold that's going to really, and so you can't inoculate yourself for every possible strain of flu, so they pick the one or couple that they think are the most likely to be spread in any certain year under any certain given circumstances. And so we go get our shots, and we're always told, now, just because you get a flu shot doesn't mean that you're not going to get the flu, because it might be, number one, it could be that the strain that you catch is not the strain you were inoculated for. Number two, it could be you already had the flu in your system, because it can lay dormant for days. It could have been in your system before you took the flu vaccine, and then when you took it a few days later, it came out. In other words, it presented itself. You said, but I took the flu vaccine. It should have killed it. No, that's not how that works. When I got my inoculation several months ago, they told me in the doctor's office, they said, look, it'll be 30 full days before this really protects you from anything. Why? Because your body has to react. See, you don't catch the flu from the flu vaccine. I hear people say that all the time. I took the flu vaccine and I got the flu. No, you didn't. You got flu-like symptoms probably up front because your body was reacting to the dead virus cells that they put in your body to fool your white cells and your immune system into thinking you had the flu. So it was building up immunity. You might have ached and got a little bit of fever and felt crummy, and you said, oh man, I got the flu. I took the shot, got the flu. No, you didn't. And the other thing is you could have already had the flu, and so then it presents itself, and you said, man, I've got the full raging flu, and I just took the flu shot. It gave me the flu. No, it didn't. Or you could have caught it within the 30 days that it takes for it to really start working. See, there's just so much misinformation out there. But here's the deal. The Lysol can. It says that. However, I went to the Lysol website, and the Lysol website addresses this. And the Lysol website, and we're going to talk about it when we come back on the other side of the break. We've got a 2-minute break coming up, but I still have a few seconds here. The Lysol website has a whole section on the 2019 novel coronavirus, a different strain, and it says what the Lysol spray may or may not do and what that coronavirus is really all about. And it's on the Lysol website. So you see, we've been knowing about this. There are medical sites and government sites and biological experimentation sites that actually talk about creating viruses like this in the laboratory or strains and then creating the antidote on top of it. Well, why are they doing that? For biological warfare? I mean, this stuff goes on around us all the time, folks. Let's take this break. We'll be right back.
To Freedom Friday with Carl Gallups from the Oval Office of the Gulf Coast.
Don't change that dial. We're just getting started. Freedom Friday with Carl Gallups, the Oval Office of Gulf Coast Talk Radio.
All right. Yes, don't change the dial. And you are listening live. And we're going to jump right back into the coronavirus but what Lysol's website says about it, because it is on the back of their cans that Lysol kills coronavirus. But there's a balance to it. But in the meantime, if you want to text us live, feel free. 850-262-6077, 850-262-6077. Just got a text, and it says, Happy Freedom Friday, friends. And it says, hey, Carl, I'm finally making time to read Gods of the Final Kingdom. Yeah, that was my latest book. Now I've got a new one coming out. It's out now, Masquerade. It doesn't actually release till March 15th, but Amazon's already shipping it. So if you order it now, it'll be in your hands in just a couple of days. But this person, Terry, T-E-R-I, reading Gods of the Final Kingdom. And then she goes on to say, it's a page turner for sure. I'm loving it and encourage all of your listeners to get it, but I'm sure they are a step ahead of me and already have already read it. LOL. God bless. Well, God bless you, Terry. Thank you. Thank you for picking up the book. Thank you for reading it. Thank you for the kind words. Thank you for listening. And thank you for texting us. Thank you, Terry. All right. We're back. Well, folks, it's good to have you with us. So I was telling you right before the break that, yes, it's on the back of Lysol cans. We kill coronavirus. Well, again, that's like saying we kill the flu virus. Yeah, but there's all kinds of different strains. And so anyway, I'm sure, I don't know if Lysol reformulates every now and then to kill some of the different strains that are discovered. But so I went to the Lysol website and they say that. And they say now understanding the 2019 novel coronavirus. You can go look this up yourself. Because I don't have time to read the whole thing. You don't want to sit here and listen to me read Lysol's website. But let me just give you some information it says here. So it says, what is coronavirus? All right, according to World Health Organization, coronavirus, or COV, it's a large family of viruses that cause illnesses ranging from the common cold to more severe diseases such as MERS, MERS, Middle East Respiratory Syndrome. See, all these fancy names. I mean, it was bird flu, swine flu, SARS, coronavirus, COVID-19, SARS-CoV-19. And so here we go. MERS, Middle East Respiratory Syndrome. And these are different strains of flu and cold and all of that. And coronavirus, the symptoms are very similar to the flu, but the incubation rate is a little longer and the infection rate is a little higher than the flu, which is what has, World Health professionals, watching this closely and a little afraid of it. Okay. So anyway, it goes on to say on the Lysol website, what we're dealing with right now, SARS-CoV-2, see, there's a new fancy name for you, is a new strain of coronavirus. It was first identified in the outbreak in Wuhan, China, back in 2019. I think it was October or something. And so it goes on to say, some viruses are highly contagious while other viruses are less so. Well, we know all of that. And then it tells you, all right, here are the symptoms of coronavirus. Now, what does this sound like to you? Fever, cough, shortness of breath. Those are the symptoms. Well, that could be from a really nasty cold. It could be from an upper respiratory infection. It could be from the flu or coronavirus. But of course, coronavirus has a little higher rate of spreading and a little higher death rate. However, even the Lysol site says, but that depends upon the conditions you're living in, the country you're living in, the medical care you can get, how bad the person you got it from was infected. It depends. The death rate is not solid. It depends. But it is a little higher than the flu. But it hasn't proven to be so on a global scale yet. Not this year. The flu's killing way more people around the world this year and in the United States than the coronavirus is. Now, I know it's new and we don't have vaccines for it, although the United States and Israel today are announcing that they're very close. Israel says they believe they've already got a vaccine for it. Now, I want you to notice, I'm going to read, so anyway, bottom line is, let me move off the Lysol thing because I want to get into some more of these articles to put this in perspective for you. The Lysol article goes on to say, and you're going to love this, it says, so does Lysol kill the novel coronavirus, SARS-CoV-2? And then it says, listen to their answer. Specific Lysol products have demonstrated effectiveness against viruses very similar to the 2019 novel coronavirus on hard, non-porous surfaces. And in accordance with the EPA viral emerging pathogen policy, the following Lysol products can be used against 2019 novel coronavirus, SARS-CoV-2, when used in accordance with the directions on the can. They're saying they can take care of it. But you got to use it according to directions, and on hard surfaces, they know it works. That's what they say. This is not Carl Gallups. It's not fake news. That's what Lysol says. And here are the products. Lysol disinfectant spray EPA, Lysol disinfectant spray maximum cover mist, Lysol power bathroom cleaner, Lysol power foam bathroom cleaner, Lysol power toilet bowl cleaner, Lysol toilet bowl cleaner with bleach EPA. Those products kill the coronavirus and even the one that's out there now. So here's the deal. If you live in the United States and you're listening to this broadcast, and we have listeners all over the world, so I'm not disparaging any other countries that are less fortunate, less blessed than we are, but the bottom line is, if you live in the United States, you are blessed. Why? Because you don't live under socialized medicine. Did you hear me? You live in a nation that was almost destroyed by Obamacare. We almost went down the route where the coronavirus could have overwhelmed us. But we live in a nation where you can get excellent medical care. Almost all of us can. Really, anybody can. But I mean, most of America's population has access to first-class, world-class health care. All right? Now, you live there. You live in a place that's on the cutting edge, the leading edge of developing vaccines and cures. You live in a nation that's on the leading edge of using all the technologies the world possesses to protect our borders, our points of entry, and our mass population. That's why there have been 0 deaths of coronavirus in the United States. The problem is the flu is an epidemic every year. Between 20,000 and 60 to 80,000 people a year die. You know, there are like 20 to 30, 40,000 people at the most that die every year on our highways. The flu kills way more than that. Right now, no one has died in the United States from coronavirus. Now, by the time this week is over, we might have had 10 or 12 or 15 people. And the media will go crazy. 10 or 12 or 15 people, that's sad for them, their families. I hate it. I'm not making light of it, but I'm saying 10 or 12, 15 people die from coronavirus in the United States. It will be pronounced a national healthcare emergency, shut down everything. Yet 30,000, most of them children and elderly, have already died from the flu. And some of you, me included, who took the flu vaccine, we may still get a strain of influenza and get really sick. Some may die. Folks, here's the bottom line. Can I just speak to you biblically just a little bit? We're all going to die. We're all dying. May I just say that? Please? Get a grip. Yes, take precautions. All of these sites, Lysol sites, everything says use disinfectant, use hand wash, wash your hands in hot soapy water, warm soapy water. Don't be sneezing on people. If you got to sneeze and cough, put it in a tissue, throw it in the garbage can. Don't go into areas of high infection. People coughing and hacking and sick and I mean, stay away from that. But otherwise, live life. Take precautions. Use your head. Could it become a global pandemic? I guess it could. But read the news. I don't know. Let me look. I've got it right here somewhere. I may have to get it after the break because I don't want to get this wrong. Oh, it's right here in front of me somewhere. When we come back from the break, I'm going to tell you how many people, as of now, as of today, according to the news, have been infected with it, cases in China where it all began, and how many deaths. And now it says in the headlines of the news, 60 other nations have coronavirus. Well, go down the list. There's 10 in this nation, 12 in this nation, 100 in this nation, 5 cases in this nation, 30 cases in this nation. We've got tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of cases of flu in the United States, and 30,000 have died. We'll be back.
Welcome back to Freedom Friday with Carl Gallups, 1330 WEBY. Carl speaks with ontological certitude and theological indubitableness. For you liberals out there, this means that Carl knows who he is and that he is unashamed to be on a first-name basis with God. Now, here's Carl Gallups.
All right, well, welcome back. It's good to be back live with you. Oval Office, Gulf Coast Talk Radio, ADX Communication Broadcast Group Studios here on the Gulf Coast. Freedom Friday with Carl Gallups. My world-famous producer, Peter Laser, is in the house. Peter, you don't have to speak on the air if you don't want to, but give me a thumbs up, man. It's good to have you with us. Peter does push the buttons, turn the knobs, and keeps me straight and everybody else, and handles all the in-house emergencies and and sometimes he runs around in here like a banshee. We're in the same room, and he's got a whole bank. He looks like he's flying a 747 over there. He's got about 8 monitors in front of him and all these soundboards and equipment. And I don't know. It's all Greek to me. I know how to stand behind a microphone and talk. Have you noticed that? That's my gift. And I know even that's arguable. Well, anyway, Mike Smith, are you with us? I've got the information I promised the folks they could have. I just want to make sure we've got a connection with you. Are you here?
I'm here. I kind of feel like I do need to yield my initial time here so you can fulfill your promise and give us the rest of those stats there.
Well, thanks. You break in, man, if you want to comment. But, yeah, sure. I appreciate that. So I'm going to let me just get right to it. So I told you these stats were going to be shocking. Now, these stats come from an article about a week ago. All right, so they're still very fresh. And it was published in the Sun Sentinel in Florida. And they were a group of medical professionals, Tampa General Hospital physicians, University of South Florida faculty members in the medical school, et cetera, et cetera. They addressed the Florida Senate, Mike, because, everybody's going crazy about coronavirus. It's going to be a pandemic in the United States. 0 people have died in the United States.
Right.
All right. Here's what they said to the Senate. Quote, influenza, and everybody knows that's the flu, is the elephant in the room no one is talking about. Thank you, medical professionals, for backing up what I've been screaming for weeks.
Right.
And it goes on to say, these professionals told members of the Senate Health Policy Committee, quote, influenza is actually killing people. And then it goes on to say, this report says the Federal Centers for Disease Control and Prevention have received reports of more than 31 million cases of influenza in the United States since October. 31 million in a country with only 330 million people in it. Now, between October and the first 2 weeks of February, more than 350,000 people have been hospitalized in the United States, and there have been more than 25,000 deaths, this article says. And just today I checked, and now that number's up to 29,000 deaths in the United States, Mike, with influenza. Again, coronavirus, 0.
Right.
Yet to hear the American news media You would think coronavirus was a pandemic sweeping the United States. And it's not. See, they want so badly for us to believe that somehow Donald Trump has dropped the ball. We're all going to die from coronavirus, while 29,000 people have already died from flu, 350,000 people have been hospitalized, and 31 million people have been infected. And that's in the United States. That's not counting the global numbers. But then this report, Mike, goes on to say, meanwhile, the coronavirus was first reported in Wuhan, China, December 31st. The World Health Organization has reported 73,424 cases, and at that time, that was mainly all in China, only about 100 total cases outside of China at that time, and 1,800 deaths as of about 10 days ago. Now it's a little over 2,000 deaths in China. But China has a population of 1.4 billion people, with 73,000 cases. But in the United States, we have 31 million cases of flu and 29,000 deaths. And we've only got 330 million people. In China, 1.4 billion people. And I'm going to use the word only 73,000 cases of coronavirus and only 2,000 deaths. Now, the headlines on Drudge, 60 more nations infected with coronavirus. It's a pandemic. No, it's not. When you go down the list, Mike, one nation has 10 cases. Another nation has 5 cases. Another nation has 20 cases. Another nation has 100 cases. We've got 31 million cases of flu in the United States with 29,000 deaths on our hands. Does this put it in perspective, Mike? I know that coronavirus could be horrible, but so could flu. So could the Black Plague. So could, what do you call drinking dirty water? And I forgot what it is. Most of the world has nasty water, and it's a horrific disease, bacterial infection that can kill you dead.
Yeah.
Any of those things.
Salmonella, E. coli, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you got to wonder how many people, because the flu virus is something that's a pandemic, affects all nations everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you got to wonder how many people, if 30,000 people are dying from the flu every year in the United States, how many people are dying in China from the flu? I mean, I've been all over the world. The flu is everywhere.
It's everywhere.
And the coronavirus has only reached 60 countries right now. The list is going to grow, obviously, but Carl, I heard an expert say the other day that if you were one of those kids who drank water out of the garden hose in the front yard, you're already immune from the coronavirus. I mean, I don't know if that's true or not, but
if that's true, then I'm immune.
Hey, that's public service announcement number 1. Public service announcement number 2 is, now I'm not sure if this is actually written in any law anywhere, but apparently if you see a Bernie bumper sticker, you are entitled to siphon off half that person's gas in spite of the fact that you didn't earn it or pay for it. That's public. Okay. I don't know. Use that advice at your own risk.
Yes.
But that is public service announcement number 2. Now, all kidding aside, yesterday I was sitting in my car and I was listening to NPR. And they had an expert on talking about this. This is not a joke. The last 2 things were jokes. The next thing is not a joke. I was listening to this expert on NPR, National Public Radio, and they had this expert on the coronavirus, and she basically said the same thing that you just laid out there, that don't believe the hype.
What?
She's saying
that on NPR?
Yeah.
And what are you? What are you? The bastion of Canadian conservatism. What are you doing listening to NPR? Did you have your latte in your hand?
On the sword, Carl.
Yes, you had your latte.
Okay.
All right, go ahead. But tell us, so this expert on NPR said basically what I'm saying right now.
Exactly. She's saying, you know what? Don't believe the hype. It's all the media hype that is causing all this panic in the stock market and all of this. She's saying, the vast majority of people, mid to high 90% of people who get the coronavirus will survive the coronavirus. The symptoms are similar to the flu. Not as many people are getting this thing. Countries are on top of this, and we're grateful for the fact that countries are taking this seriously. However, it's not as serious as people are making this out to be. The Dow Drudge Report is reporting that the Dow is down 3,500 points for the week.
Yeah.
That's a lot, and they're saying that it's all on this coronavirus thing. The Chinese basically taking their shingle down. By the way, like they basically got out of business right now over this thing.
I know.
Was it man-made? Who knows? I don't know. But the expert on NPR is saying, you know what? This thing is going to go the way of the flu. People get the flu by the millions, tens of millions, maybe the hundreds of millions every year. Do you worry about it? Well, take the same precautions you would take with the influenza virus.
Yeah. That's it.
Wash your hands. Wash your hands. You don't have to cover yourself in a bubble like John Travolta. Just wash your hands. Have a safe, clean environment around you at all times, basically what
I know. And make sure you're right with the Lord. Because we're all going to die from something. I mean, we're going to die from something. I'm not trying to be morbid or overly cute here. It's just the truth. And a lot of people forget that. They think, I'm going to live forever unless I catch the coronavirus. How dare that coronavirus mess me up from living forever? Excuse me, you're not going to live forever. You could get killed crossing the street today, okay? Every beat of your heart, every breath we take is in the hands of our Creator, according to the Word of God. Yeah. So, Mike, the bottom line is we're saying all of these viruses and diseases need to be taken seriously, need to be treated seriously, and everyone should protect themselves. But if you're blessed to live in the United States or Canada or Israel, and there are other nations too, then thank God for that and enjoy life. Take the precautions, but how many have died in America from coronavirus? 0 so far. How many have died from the flu as we're reporting tonight? 20. Now let's just go ahead and say 30,000. 30,000. Do you know what it would take to all of a sudden have 30,000 corona deaths in the United States? I mean, Mike, this is ridiculous, but the left has weaponized coronavirus.
Yes.
They've weaponized it politically. Go ahead. You speak. I'm taking your time. Go ahead.
No, you put that very well. It does seem like they do want to rob him of his current successes by saying that you failed the American people on this one particular issue. But, that's a very good point you make. Like, the mortality rate of this disease is very low. But the death rate on planet Earth is 1 per person. 1 per person. It's 100%.
Yes, thanks.
So let's keep that proper perspective. Jesus himself said, how many of you can add 1 cubit to your stature or even a few seconds to your life by worrying?
Yeah.
So, live your life as a clean person. Some people might even argue, live your life according to the Levitical laws of washing and keeping yourself clean. The germ theory is presented first in the Bible.
Yes.
The Bible is not silent on germ theory, and that this has been around since the beginning of time. And Jesus said it'll be around in the last days. There shall be pestilences, quote unquote. Jesus Christ said those very words.
Yes.
So, and this is a pestilence. Let's not worry about it. Put our faith and hope in Jesus Christ, and not only the life to come, but the life that we have today.
And I'm telling you, yes, you're right, Mike, and I'm going to tell you, I do smell a rat in all of this. It's a biblical prophetic rat, and that is, we know that there will be a generation that will see the culmination of this Antichrist system and this Antichrist person that throws truth to the ground, and the world worships this person. Jesus said in those days, men will die from heart attacks looking at the terror coming upon the earth. I smell a rat that these pestilences that have been predicted in the Word of God may actually turn out to be man-made biological warfare inflicted upon the world in the last days. We're watching the test runs for it even now, I'm convinced.
Sharon has died, aged 8.
We are with one of Rabbi Kaduri's disciples.
בהצלחה רבה, והצלחה רבה ומהירה, בתוך ביס משיח צדקנו בקרוב ממש, ואז ישפיע זה על כל כדור ואורץ. אנחנו להשם שמע, דין השם כדורים, לעצור להשפיע ולסרוב, כי כל כדור.
Gods of the final kingdom. Not only things that he didn't know, there are things he still doesn't know. Gods of the final kingdom. There are things that Satan didn't know that are key to this, how this final kingdom is going to develop. What is it that Satan didn't know?
Not only things that he didn't know, there are things he still doesn't know.